Welcome to the Short Funk Podcast. I'm Tom Barbalet. Today, Man on Wire. I pride myself in being relatively well-versed in documentaries. I mean, certainly at Netflix, I have a pretty good understanding of the catalogue. I've watched a good portion of it. It enables me to find unusual documentaries, sometimes things that no one has ever heard of previously. But in terms of my general documentary watching, there is one documentary which is pretty well known, which I haven't had the opportunity to watch. Actually, I've actively avoided watching it, and that is Man on Wire. I've had a fear of heights for as long as I can remember. Being 6'4", it's somewhat ironic. When the fears are handed out, you don't always get the ones that make the most sense. In my case, really anything above about 8 feet off the ground makes me feel generally queasy. And Man on Wire posed a number of concerns to me that I was just going to have this reaction continuously associated with this particular thing. It's a documentary based on the tightrope walker, I guess you'd call him, Philip Petit, and the events that led up to his crossing the World Trade Center towers, I think in 1974. I originally, without much knowledge associated with this thing, assumed that this was something that was legally done, that it was, sanctioned by the city of New York, and it was all set up accordingly. What I didn't realize coming into the film was that all these acts were illegal, and based on the risk factor, I guess that makes logical sense. I guess I assumed that there was a career called tightrope walking, and within the career, various risks could be taken based on the person's natural ability. But when I realized that these were actually covert acts, it changed the whole dynamic of the film for me completely. I thought this was a pretty amazing documentary. I understand why it's so popular. I understand why it's a good example of documentary form. It tracks in a perfect arc Philip's movement from not being a tightrope walker to a series of earlier tightrope walks to the World Trade Center, and actually the covert operation of getting the World Trade Center tightrope walk together is a pretty amazing story, pretty compelling. I mean, I guess I got a sense of that because they made a non-documentary motion picture associated with this particular thing. The vertigo elements, they're there. It's hard not to miss the heights and the, extreme distances, particularly when dealing with the World Trade Center. But I thought it was more important to actually watch this story, and I'm really glad that I did watch this documentary, because I think it gives a different perspective on the documentary process. All the interviews appear to be contemporary. I think there was some historical, flashback interviews, but there's a lot of footage. It always interests me that when you do something, creating footage, be it still photos or motion picture footage in this case, is really important. And it makes me realize, not necessarily that there's a certain degree of causation, but if you don't have still photos or motion picture footage here, you're probably not doing something that's going to be memorialized going forward. Interesting kind of juxtaposition there. In any case, Man on Wire, definitely recommended, even for people with fears of heights. Tom Barbalet in San Jose, signing out.